Welcome everyone to tonight's council meeting. I'm the Mayor, Councillor Ranka Rasik. I declare this meeting open at 7 p.m. The council meeting of 21st November 2023 lapsed due to quorum not being achieved. This council meeting is rescheduled from 21st November 2023. The agenda for this council meeting is identical to the agenda for the lapsed meeting. I would like to welcome the members of the public who have joined us in the chamber tonight. Members of the public attending council and committee meetings are expected to behave respectfully at all times and not permitted to engage with the councillors or council officers during the course of the meeting. This includes directing loud and inappropriate comments towards councillors and officers, or making noise that impacts council's ability to conduct its meeting. All persons present tonight have a right to be safe and treated with respect. Council will not tolerate any behaviour that threatens the safety of anyone present in the chamber or which disrupts the ability for council to conduct its business on behalf of the community. You will be asked to leave the meeting if your behaviour is inappropriate, disruptive or rude. Due to ongoing disruptions experienced at the council meetings, all members of the gallery are required to pre-register their attendance at the council meetings to further support continuous efforts to maintain a safe and secure environment for all participants whilst allowing council to conduct an ordinary meeting. In the unlikely event of an emergency, please follow the direction of council officers and the emergency procedures on the wall near the door. I would like to note I have given approval for Channel 31 to live stream the meeting. Recording of the meeting will be published on council's website. We're going to go to item 1. Please stand for acknowledgement of country. On behalf of Brimbank City Council, I respectfully acknowledge and recognise the Wurundjeri and Bunurong peoples as traditional custodians of this land and pay respect to their elders past, present and emerging. I ask councillors to remain standing for the council commitment. Others may be seated. As the council, we will act in the best interest of the Brimbank community and consider the immediate and long-term impacts of our decisions. We will make these decisions fairly and without bias. We will uphold all of our obligations under the laws of Victoria and the Council's local laws. And we will act in accordance with our Code of Conduct. Councillors, please be seated. We're going to go to item 3, apologies. Councillor Bourke, Councillor Lancashire, Councillor Kerr, Councillor O'Reilly and Councillor Tarkos have submitted an apology for this meeting. I note that Councillor Kerr has withdrawn her leave of absence that was approved at the Council's meeting on the 19th of September 2023. Item 4. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest, councillors? No, thank you. Going to go to item 5, designation of items as confidential. May I have a mover of a motion to designate items as confidential? Councillor Papalia.
I move the motion as per shared screen.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Second, Madam Mayor.
Councillor David.
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favour, please raise your hands. Carried. Going to go to item 6, confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. May I have a mover of the motion to confirm minutes of the previous council meeting? Councillor Nguyen.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to note the previous minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Papalia.
I second.
Thank you. Put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Carried. Go to item 7, condolences. It has been requested that 2 condolences motion listed on the agenda now be considered at the next council meeting. Item 8, congratulations. There are no items of congratulations. Item 9, public question time. Mr. Billiver, did I say it right? Yeah. I understand we have questions from members of the public.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, we have 7 questions for tonight. The first question is from Jenny Isa, and she asked, in a recent article in the Brimbank Star Weekly this week, it was reported that Council, in conjunction with local police, local MPs and our CEO, have announced that closed-circuit television cameras have been installed and are now operating in selected locations in the Sunshine Activity Centre. The article also mentioned that this is the second time CCTV has been installed in the Brimbank Activity Centre for public safety, with CCTV being in place at the St Albans Activity Centre since 2018. My question is, if St Albans has had CCTV in place since 2018, and with the amount of crime and theft in Alfreda Street in the past few years, what have the CCTV achieved in St Albans in curbing crime since the cameras have been installed?
Thank you for your question regarding the public safety CCTV system in St Albans Town Centre. Well, CCTV system can have a crime deterrent effect. It is most valuable as a tool for Victoria Police to identify and apprehend offenders. It is also useful for police when responding to 000 calls, as they can access the CCTV in real time to see what is happening on the ground and respond more effectively. When the CCTV system in St Albans was first established in 2018, Council undertook an independent evaluation in which police reported that CCTV footage was a critical factor in making several arrests in the local area. This included crimes such as hit and run incident, drug possession and use, public threatening behaviour, armed robbery and street robbery. This, alongside other crime prevention measures such as light upgrades, public realm improvements, community engagement, and working with other partners and service providers in the area, all play a role to improve safety.
Our next question is from R. Linz. How much does Brimbank pay for the state government's pet registration levy, and what are the benefits to ratepayers?
Under the Domestic Animal Act 1994, local council are required to pay the treasurer $4.39 for every cat and a dog registration and $20 for every domestic animal business registration collected in each financial year, as at 1st July 2023. Payments for cat and dog registrations increase each financial year in line with the annual rate approved by the Treasurer in relation to the state budget. The payments to the Treasurer were introduced in 1996 and registration fees charged by local councils to cover their animal management service costs. The payments are used to promote responsible dog and cat ownership, administer the DA Act, support animal welfare, conduct research into domestic animal management.
The third question is also from R. Linz, who asks, what are the consequences for local governance when consecutive monthly council meetings are prematurely closed?
For clarity purpose, council meetings have not prematurely closed, but were simply adjourned for a short period of time. There is no direct governance consequence as the meetings continued and all business was completed.
Matthew Way has asked, I have noticed that the land located at 24 Neil Street, Sunshine, is storing about 20 cars, some without license plates. The land used to contain a house. Is demolishing houses and using the land as car storage in line with Council's development goals for Sunshine?
The use of this particular site for motor vehicle sales and vehicle store is prohibited. The landowner and occupier have been notified that the use must sees that all vehicles are removed from the land. Officers continue to monitor the site to ensure this occurs by the required date.
The next question is from Claire. Could Council please provide an update on the active investigation of its planning compliance unit into alleged breaches of the planning permit granted to Legacy Boxing Gym in Sunshine West, particularly in light of 23 people gathering at the gym on 13th November in support of the racist National Socialist Network and in breach of the planning permit?
Council provided a response to public question on this matter at the Council meeting on the 17th of October 2023, which said that Council's planning compliance unit is unable to provide specific details about this active investigation. Officers will continue to work closely with Victoria Police about this ongoing matter.
Reese Martin asks, can you please explain the disruptive behaviour from councillors from last month's meeting, October 31st, has been addressed? It was clearly workplace bullying and unacceptable as I watched the live stream.
The health and safety of our community, councillors and council staff, is our utmost priority. Council has and will continue to implement appropriate measures so that all persons attending council events and meetings feel safe and are treated with respect. Council has now introduced a measure required attendees to register before attending council meetings. This will assist council in managing behaviours.
Reese Martin also asks, can you please explain to the public if council employees are public servants?
The term public servant refers to a government official or employee, and a council is a form of government.
No further questions.
Thank you. Going to go item 10, petitions. There are no petitions to be received. Item 11, minutes, reports of delegated committees. There are no minutes or reports of delegated committees. We're going to go to item 12, officers' report. There are 14 officers' report for consideration by council tonight. If you have alternative or amended motion this evening, you must draft these motions and provide to the governance team via email so that they may be shared on the screen and form part of the meeting. Otherwise, we may have to defer the matter until the motion has been written, allowing the meeting to proceed uninterrupted. Report 12.1, consideration of introducing council public forums. Councillors, this matter was introduced at the last council meeting and deferred will in debate. I will now ask the Manager Governance and Risk to explain the point in debate where this item will resume.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the benefit of the gallery and those watching via live stream, I'll briefly explain where this debate is at. This item was originally introduced and deferred at the council meeting held 17 October 2023. A motion for the item was moved by Councillor Kerr, seconded by Councillor Takos. Councillor Kerr, as the mover, spoke to the motion. Councillor Rasic, seconded by Councillor Nguyen, then moved an amendment to the motion. The amendment was then debated and put to the vote where it was carried, therefore becoming the motion before council. Prior to the debate on the amended motion, Councillor Borg moved, which was seconded by Councillor Takos, to defer further debate and consideration of the item to the next council meeting, being the next practicable meeting. It was clarified that the effect of this deferral would be for the debate to resume with the motion before the meeting when the matter comes back to council. The deferred motion was put to the vote. A deferral motion was put to vote and carried. Accordingly, at this evening's meeting, the consideration and debate of this item will resume with the motion before the meeting. That is, the original motion as amended, which should be on the screen. All councillors in attendance will now have the opportunity to speak to the motion before it is put to the vote.
So,
Madam
Councillor
Mayor, I'd like to move the foreshadow motion on this to return back to the original office report.
Thank you, Councillor David. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Papal? Okay, councillors, we'll have to first vote on the other motion. If that is lost, then your motion, Councillor David, will be considered. Okay, so does anyone wants to talk or speak to that motion, councillors? The previous one that we just spoke about? Against, for? Yes, are you talking against or for it?
I would just like to say that I've just noted the person who originally moved the original motion is not here. So perhaps I would urge my fellow councillors to consider adopting the foreshadow motion because there is a review process underway for the community engagement policy anyway. So thank you.
Thank you, councillor. And you and anyone else, councillors? All right, I'll put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. This motion lapses. Are all against? No one is, yeah, they're all, yeah. Okay. All against? Yeah. It's lost. Thank you. So we're going to put now foreshadow motion of Councillor David.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, as said, I wish to move a foreshadow motion to go back to the original officer's report. Yeah,
Thank you, Councillor
recommendation,
David. Thank you. Which is now on the screen, I think. Yeah. Councillor Papalia, were you seconding that still? Or?
Yes, I second the motion as per business, as per shared screen.
Thank you. Councillor David, would you like to speak to this report?
No, Madam Mayor, I don't. I think that's we should go with that and let's have a look at it. Yeah.
Councillor Papalia, would you like to speak to it?
No, thank you.
Councillor Newen, would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, I just want to note that I always encourage that there's always room for improvement with the way that we engage our community. And yeah, like the review is underway. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else, councillors? I put this foreshadow motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Motion carried. So we're going back to officer's report. Thank you. We're going to go to item 12.2, planning activity update and delegated decisions and planning scheme amendment update. Director Dumble? Oh, sorry. Deans. Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report presents for noting the status of planning permit applications and decisions made under delegated authority for the month of October, as well as progress on planning scheme amendments where Council is the planning authority or has requested the Minister to prepare an amendment. For the month of October, 72 planning determinations and 20 subdivision determinations were made under delegated authority, while 68 new planning permit applications were received with a total development value of $72 million. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, does anyone have a question for the Director? Do I have a move of this item? Councillor Papalia?
I move the motion as per shared screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor David. Councillor Papalia, would you like to speak to this motion?
No, thank you.
Councillor David, would you like to speak to? Councillors, anyone else, would you like to speak to the motion? I put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Carried. Thank you. We're going to go to 12.3, Climate Emergency Plan Report Card 2022-2023. Director Dean, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report presents for noting the Climate Emergency Plan Report Card for 2022-2023. The Climate Emergency Plan is in its third year, and the report card shows a considerable range of actions across the key themes of 100% renewable, growing our energy, people power, growing our voice, green and cool, resilient rebuild, and circular economy. The report card shows considerable progress, including significant reductions in Council's greenhouse gas emissions, and also highlights the significant challenges that remain in achieving corporate and community-wide emission reduction targets. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, does anyone have a question for the Director? Do I have a move of this motion? Councillor Nguyen?
Yes, I would like to move the motion.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dang?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I second it.
Thank you. Councillor Nguyen, would you like to speak to this motion?
Well, quite briefly, I think it's great that Brimbank City Council has a plan for addressing the climate emergency and acknowledging that a climate emergency exists. And look, there are still significant progress to be made, but it is good to note that we have reduced our emissions by over 70% in the past 10 years, and it's a progress, is the thing.
Thank you. Councillor Dang, would you like to speak to this motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I congratulate Council on the third year of climate emergency plan, and thank you to all Council staff and the community who have engaged in the development of the climate emergency plan 2025. I commend this report to Council.
Thank you, Councillor Dang. Any other councillors would you like to speak to this motion? I put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Carried. We're going to go to 12.4, submission to aviation green paper. Again, Esteens, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report presents the draft submission to the Aviation Green Paper for endorsing. The Aviation Green Paper was released by the Federal Government on the 7th of September with submissions invited until the 30th of November 2023. The Green Paper will inform the preparation of the Aviation White Paper, which will set the policy direction for the aviation sector in Australia till 2050. The White Paper creates an opportunity to achieve a more equitable balance between facilitating the appropriate growth and development of airports and protecting the health and wellbeing of communities that surround them. The draft submission includes 30 recommendations that draw from Council's previous submission to Melbourne Airport's Master Plan and Major Development Plan for the third runway. The draft submission highlights the need for the Federal Government to mandate requirements that protect the health and wellbeing of communities that surround airports as part of airport planning process, including a policy framework for a compensation scheme for airport impacted communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, does anyone have a question for the Director? Do I have a move of this report? Councillor Papalia?
I move the motion as per shared screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor David? Thank you. Councillor Papalia, would you like to speak to it?
I would just like to congratulate the team on the work done on this report. It is, can I say, a wonderful piece of literature. It's very informative, and I look forward to the results as this comes to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor David, would you like to speak to this report?
Few words, Madam Mayor, is to say that the officers, great job, extremely good report and quite a rich sort of reading. Extremely good. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, councillors, would you like to speak to this report? If not, I'll put this report to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Carried. We're going to go to 12.5. Quarter 1 Budget Report, July, August, September 2023. Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present to Council the quarterly budget report and accompanying statements for the period of 1st of July of this year through to September 30. It's important to draw to Council's attention the impact of receiving the $14.17 million from the Victoria Grants Commission early. This money was disbursed by the state in June 2023, that is in last financial year, instead of in instalments throughout 23-24 as budgeted and as programmed. The impact on our current budget is outlined in the report. Council will also note that in this report the inclusion of capital performance in this year's quarterly reports going forward, presenting you with a more integrated report on budget performance as well. Council's cash position remains strong. The officer recommendation is that council notes the quarterly budget report for this quarter. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, is there any question for the Director? Do I have a mover of this report? Councillor Nguyen?
I would like to move the motion as per business papers.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Papalia?
Second the report.
Thank you.
please.
Would you like to speak to this motion, Councillor Nguyen?
No.
Councillor Papalia?
thank
No. Councillors, anyone else would like to speak to this motion? No. I put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Carried. Going to go to 12.6, Council Plan Action Plan Year 3 Quarter on Progress Report 2023-2024. Ms. Georgie Hill, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Adopted in October 2021, Together We Are Brimbank integrates Council's Community Vision, Council Plan 2021 to 2025 and the Municipal Health and Wellbeing Plan. Implementation of Together We Are Brimbank is monitored and evaluated through quarterly reporting of actions, with achievements published annually in the annual report. Both of these reporting mechanisms are requirements under the Local Government Act 2020. The Year 3 Council Plan Action Plan 2023 to 2024 contains 109 actions across the pillars of people and community, places and spaces, opportunity and prosperity, and leadership and governance. As of the 30th of September 2023, after this first quarter, the status of the actions were as follows. 2 actions have been completed, 4 actions are not yet commenced, and 103 actions are in progress. Further information on the achievements and progress against each of the actions is contained in the attachment to the report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, is there any question for the Director? Do I have a move of this report or this motion? Councillor David?
Thank you, Madam.
Move the motion. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Nguyen?
I second that.
Thank you. Councillor David, would you like to speak to this motion? Councillor Nguyen, would you like to speak to this motion? No. Any other councillors? Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? No. All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. Going to go to 12.7, Governance Report, November 2023. Thank you, Georgie Hill.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Governance Report is a standing report within the Council meeting agenda. It is predominantly a summary of key operational and governance activity written in compliance with the Local Government Act 1989 and 2020. In this month's report, Council is recommended to note the report for November 2023, contracts entered into and works orders approved in accordance with the S7 instrument of subdelegation, record the informal council meetings and the delegates and representative reports, and the councillor declarations of representations by members of Parliament. The report also asks Council to note the Council Officer submission to the proposed amendment C235 BRIM, which was submitted to the Department of Transport and Planning on the 12th of October 2023, and also ask Council to appoint a delegate and proxy to lead West Joint Delegated Committee. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any questions for the Director? Do I have a move of this motion? Councillor
Brandon, it's been a while.
Branson. Sorry.
Yeah, I move the motion as per screen.
Councillors, is there someone that wants to be on a lead West delegation, delegate and proxy we need, or should we defer this to next meeting?
Can I move?
Yeah.
Can I move that we adopt actions A to B and defer C
Okay.
for this report, please? Yeah.
Okay.
I want to move that as the motion. To be clear.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you agree with that, Sarah?
Sorry, can I ask the director if that will be helpful? Yes, let's do that.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Papalia? Or yeah. Councillor Branton, would you like to speak to this motion?
No, thank you.
Papalia? Any other councillors would you like to speak to this motion? I'll put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. Going to go to 12.8, final draft, Lifelong Learning Strategy 2024-2029 with Ms Dummel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. This report is presented to Council to consider endorsing the final Brimbank Lifelong Learning Strategy 2024 to 2029. The draft strategy is a long-term approach for Council and its partners to improve the social and economic outcomes of the community, recognising learning as a key driver for change. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Dummel. Councillors, does anyone have a question for the Director? Do I have a move of this motion? Councillor Papalia?
I move the motion as per shared screen.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Second, Madam.
Thank you, Councillor David. Councillor Papalia, would you like to speak to this motion?
I would like to thank the team and everyone involved in this piece of work. I think it's extremely important for our community. It was really interesting reading the responses from the community, and it was also great to see that all respondents felt represented. They agreed with the life stage approach, they agreed with the priority areas, and they agreed with the guiding principles. So really great work, and thanks again to everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to this motion, Councillor? Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? All right, all in favour, please raise your hands. Carried. We're going to go to 12.9, final council report, LGBTQIA+ Action Plan 2024-2028. Ms Dummel, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. This report is being presented to Council for consideration of adoption of the final draft LGBTQIA+ Action Plan 23 to 27. The final draft action plan is the first of its kind for Brimbank and has been informed by community engagement over a period of 15 months. LGBTQIA+ inclusion has relevance to Council's work on gender equality, mental wellbeing, and more broadly, compliance with anti-discrimination and equal opportunity legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Dummel. Councillors, is there any question for the Director? Do I have a mover? Councillor Nguyen?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I would like to move the motion on the shared
Thank
screen.
you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Branton?
Yeah, I second it.
Thank you. Councillor Nguyen, would you like to speak to this motion? Go.
Absolutely, thank you. At Brimbank City Council, we have a vision where we're committed to creating a safe and inclusive community that values all people and the diversity they bring through their sexualities, genders, ages, ethnicities, cultures, and abilities. Compared to straight folks, the LGBTQIA+ community face higher levels of discrimination, stigma, exclusion, verbal and physical abuse, and sexual assault. State government statistics said that in the past 12 months alone, 58% of LGBTIA+ people faced unfair treatment based on their sexual orientation. A disappointing statistic was that 78% of trans and gender diverse people, based on their gender identity, also receive unfair treatment. And I want to acknowledge that 2 days ago was the Transgender Day of Remembrance, November the 20th. And this is a day where we honour and remember the transgender people who lost their lives due to acts of transphobia and discrimination. And I want to acknowledge that people are still losing their lives and their mental health is affected due to their sexual and gender identity today. Therefore, it is important that we as a local council, we stand together and we put forward this LGBTQIA action plan to create a safe and inclusive, empowering place for our rainbow communities. This was not done overnight. This was a 15-month period process where we went through a series of 4 phases in our consultations. And that led to 27 key actions informed by people in our community. And by achieving these changes, hopefully we can make our communities more safer, more inclusive, biodiversity, and it promotes more than just acceptance, but actually celebrates the contributions of people in our queer community. One person in the report, Spencer Atlas Morgan, who's a trans-identifying man who goes by he, him pronouns, said that to him, this plan is safety. And one might go, oh, think of the children. Yeah, at Brimbank Council, we care so much about the children that when we listen to them, young LGBTQIA people said that they reported feeling unsafe in public places such as parks, public toilets, public transport, schools and unis, and healthcare. And we're dedicated towards making a difference for our young queer people and also supporting the contributions by our rainbow community in Brimbank. In fact, we're really good at it. Last month, Brimbank's Rainbow Excellence in the West was recognised with 5 awards at the first ever Western Rainbow Awards hosted by Hobsons Bay City Council. And I want to acknowledge them here today. For the Youth Focused Award, Brimbank's Crystal Queer Program by Brimbank Youth Services. The Young Person Award, who's in the report, Spencer Morgan, who's a member of the Crystal Queer Program and the Disability Advisory Committee. For the Program Award, it's about supporting LGBTQIA+ students Teachers Breakfast, which is a partnership between Brimbank and Maribyrnong Youth Services, and also a Lifetime Achievement Award for Anastasia Lay, who's from Matchwork Sunshines, and their work with us. And these are all examples of how councils and members of the community can bring people together to champion diversity and provide support to each other. There is queer representation across staff, councils across the state, and local community members, friends, and even your family. Your gender identity is just one aspect of you. And all of this work and achievement doesn't happen without us working together and being inclusive
minute
and
left.
supportive of Rainbow Excellence. I want to acknowledge the councillors in the chamber room here today. I thank you for honouring your responsibility as a councillor to represent the community. Your presence here is noted and appreciated. We stand in solidarity and say no to phobic behaviours, discrimination and violence towards the queer community. This action plan is a continuation of Brimbank's mission to promote acceptance, increase safety and celebrate pride in our community. I highly endorse the Brimbank LGBTQIA+ action plan and encourage my fellow councillors to vote in favour. And I also acknowledge the people here in the chamber room today who are here on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Councillor Branton, would you like to speak to this motion?
Yes, thank you. I want to say thank you to all the officers that worked on this. We've had updates during the duration of it, and each time the officers are educated and curious to understand more and really passionate about it. And we had conversations about this space before the project started, that this has been something that Brimbank was already looking at before our term started. And it's been a highlight of working in council to have these updates and see the amount of work and care that's been put into it. It feels very much from what I've seen that it is something that's trying to affect long-term change across the community and not just looking like we're doing something. So I'm really looking forward to the next bit where we get to see what happens now. And it'll be slow because it is. But it's I love this work that's been produced. Thank you to the officers.
Thank you, Councillor Branton. Councillors, does anyone else want to speak to this motion? I put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. We're going to go to 12.10. Combined Report Cards Homelessness, Electronic Gambling, Safe and Inclusive Brimbank, Fairness, Equality and Respect, Disability Action Plan, Settlement Action Plan, Children Plan and Volunteer Strategy. Thank you, Ms. Dumble.
Thank you, Mayor. This report is presented to Council to consider noting the following report cards: the Children's Strategy, the Disability Action Plan, Electronic Gaming Policy, Fairness, Equality and Respect Strategy, the Homelessness Implementation Plan, the Mental Wellbeing Plan, Safe and Inclusive Brimbank Strategy, the Settlement Action Plan and the Volunteer Strategy. The annual report cards highlight key achievements of these plans, policies and strategies that contribute to a healthy, safe and inclusive community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor, is there any question for the Director? Do I have a move of this motion? Councillor Papalia?
Yeah, I move the motion as per shared screen.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I second it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor David. Councillor Papalia, would you like to speak to it?
No, just to say good progress and updates and all important work, obviously, and something our council is very passionate about. So it's great to see the detail and the progress that's been happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor David? Thank you. Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to this motion? Not, I put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. We're going to go to 12.11. Creating Better Parks Scorecard 2022-2023 with Chris Levis. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report provides an update on the status of delivering on the Creative Better Parks plan and provides highlights for the year 2022-23. The report lists a number of specific projects delivered in 22-23. The highlights reported include park and playground refurbishments, new equipment and infrastructure, seating, picnic tables, water fountains, and a significant number of plantings, including 164 semi-mature trees and over 23,000 tube stock of trees and shrubs. The report is provided to inform councillors and the community of projects delivered under the Creative Better Parks program, and I commend this report to you.
Thank you. Councillors, is there any question for the Director? Do I have a move of this report? Councillor Papalia?
I move the office recommendation as per shared screen.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Nguyen?
Yes, I would like to second the report.
Thank you. Councillors, would anyone else like to, or would you like to speak to this report before?
Sure. I think this Creating Better Parks policy is something to be extremely proud of, particularly the progress. So from 2008 until the end of this 2023 financial year, Council's invested $50 million in the delivery of the Creating Better Parks policy, delivering 151 park upgrades in Brimbank. I personally am a frequent user of my local parks and playgrounds, and I have seen the great work around my neighbourhood, so I'm sure we're all seeing the benefits there, and it was a priority of all of us when we came into council into 2021, so it's great to see the progress. I would encourage everyone to have a look at the report and all of the upgrades in your particular area. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to this motion, Councillor Nguyen?
Yeah, thank you. I'd just like to add towards Councillor Palia's sentiments. Like at Brimbank, you know, we deserve to have green spaces. It doesn't matter who you are, every local person deserves to go to your local park, enjoy it. And I think one of the things I'm really happy to see is like the community is able to engage during the process of when we design new updates for the parks. So I think that's fantastic. And, you know, I just want to note that, you know, we consistently have award-winning parks every single year. Like, you know, noting the Carey Street Pocket Park, that got an award for, it's amazing. Like, yeah. Credits to the parks team. Yeah.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to this report, councillors? No. I put this report to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. Now we've got a report 12.12. Contract number 24/3400, Sport Ground, Maintenance and Renovation Works. Mr. Levis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report is for Council to consider Officer's recommendation to appoint a proposed panel contract for two different service types, sport ground maintenance and repairs, and supply and apply of fertiliser, herbicides and soil amendments. The recommendation is to appoint 3 contractors for each service for a period of 5 years with the option of a 2-year extension. The value is approximately $700,000 per annum. Officers have noted some discrepancy in the schedule of rates per service type by supplier and would allocate work according to best value, meaning that some contractors would be used more for some services than others. And, you know, aiming for best value for money. This is reflected in the current, the expenditure is reflected in the current budget allocations and officers recommend council approval.
Thank you. Councillors, is there any question for the Director?
I was actually wondering if we could ask Mr. Levers to speak to 12.11 to 12.13 and request we move these items as a block, if that's possible.
12, 12, 12, 13, 12, 14, yeah?
Yeah, 12, yeah, sorry, 12, 12, 12, 13, 12, 14, yep.
So a motion that council moves and considers report 1212 to 1214 in a block with the motion as per officer's recommendation in this report. Yeah. Do I have a mover?
Yes, I move the motion as per shared screen.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor David. Put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Carried. So now we put this 12.12, 12.13 and 12.14 reports in a block. So do I have a mover? So we're going to go back to Director to speak to 12.13 and 12.14 before we move forward. Thank you, Mr. Levers.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. 12.13 is contract 243422, which is supply and delivery and repair of mobile garbage bins. This report is to recommend the award of a 2-year contract for the supply of bins. Officers have utilised a Procurement Australia tender for this tender process. Solo MGB is recommended to be reappointed under this contract. They're the existing supplier and have been assessed as providing good value. The contract value is about $1.25 million over 2 years. This is reflected in the budget allocations and officers recommend council approval. Would you like me to do 12.14?
Yes, please. Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. So this one is contract 21/2911 for the provision of landfill services, and we're recommending the extension of the current contract, which is with Cleanaway, and we're recommending to enter into a Tier 1 schedule of rates, which is a 2-year guaranteed period, and also to award Hanson Landfill Services a non-guaranteed contract for the period 1st of April 25 to the 31st of March 2027, based on a schedule of rates. I just wanted to note for council and the community, officers are aware that alternative technologies are being explored in Victoria and elsewhere, and they certainly have promise, and they may well offer a good alternative for Brimbank in the future, but officers have assessed that those simply aren't ready for the term of this contract. So we'll continue to monitor that and bring back information as it's available, but we recommend entering into a guaranteed 2-year contract at this point, in that we believe that offers best value for money for council. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Now I'll ask councillors do you have any questions for the Director on 12.12, 12.13 or 12.14? Do I have a mover? Councillor Papalia? Do I have a seconder?
Second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Would you like to speak on those 3 reports? Councillor David, would you like to speak? Councillors, would anyone else like to speak on those 3 reports? I'll put this to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Carried. Item 30, notice of motion. There are two notices of motion for this meeting. I noted Councillor Tako's intention to withdraw these notices of motion. In accordance with Rule 23.11 of Council Governance Rules, if a councillor who has given a notice of motion is absent from the meetings, another councillor may move the motion provided that the councillor has the consent on the councillor who gave the notice of motion. I ask, has any of councillors received consent from Councillor Takos to move either notice of motion? If not, this notice of motion will lapse. Is that correct? Yeah. So then we're going to go to item 14, notice of rescission. There are no notice of rescission tonight. Item 15, urgent business. CEO, is there any urgent business for tonight?
There is no urgent business, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Going to go to item 16, confidential businesses. There is one item of confidential business tonight. May I move of a motion to close the meeting in accordance with section 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020 to members of the public for the consideration of item 16.1, which has been designated confidential.
The motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Papalia. Councillor David, would you like to speak to this? Papalia. Anyone else, councillors? I put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who is currently viewing the live stream of this meeting. This meeting will now be closed to members of the public. In accordance with section 3(1) and 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020, the meeting be closed to members of the public for the remaining of the meeting for consideration of item 16, which is classified as confidential. Information in accordance with section 3(1)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020 and is the last item for consideration at the meeting. The meeting is now closed to the members of the public at 7:52 p.m. and will not be reopened to the public at the conclusion of the confidential business. Thank you all for attending and for your interest in tonight's meeting. I instruct Channel 31 to stop live streaming this meeting. Thank you, everyone.